Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening. Um, Welcome to Help the Helpers today. And we are going to be talking about remembering and forgetting and how focusing helps us in remembering and forgetting. But we also want to talk about the conference, the focusing conference in Vienna that just ended. And Toby was at the conference. Several of you have streamed it, and we're going to hear what what people have to bring back to us from the conference. So our speaker isn't well this morning, and Katarina says that she's the under what did you call yourself, Katarina?
Perpetual understudy.
The
And that means
perpetual understudy. I think that's a wonderful name, Katarina, the perpetual understudy, and she's going to be leading our discussion about remembering and forgetting. Do you want to take it from here, Katerina? And then we'll have a section for talking about the conference before we're talking about remembering and forgetting, which actually those topics go together very well because we want to see what we want to remember from the conference, and those of us who weren't able to be there, we especially want to remember through the rest of you. So, welcome, welcome.
yes, beautiful. So when someone misses the train, then there will be someone else to step in, and that's what I'm doing today. About the conference, who would like to say a bit? Viola, were you there at the conference?
Do you, Katerina, do you
No?
want to say a little bit about the remembering and forgetting first, and
Yes,
then we'll have a
sure.
little
There's
section about the conference?
a book that was written by Lisa Genova, published in 2021, and it has a very simple type table of contents, 3 parts. I'll put those in the chat, and we will use it as springboards for our focusing. How natural it is to remember and to forget. And that will be our practice today after we talk a bit about the conference.
Okay, so now the floor is open, right, for our discussion of the conference. I want to say that I was registered for the conference and very eager to go, and then I wasn't able to go um, at the last minute. So I'm very eager to hear, what it was like and what you can help me remember when I wasn't there. Toby, you might want to say what you said before and anything else to start us off, and then we'll see where we go from there.
I can give it a go. I kind of see this whole remembering process as kind of a multi-dimensional layer. Maybe like a cube with like a lot of sides, maybe as many sides as were impressions of the conference. So I can show you a bit of my side, and we'll get a bit to what I experienced as the core, and then we can like shuffle the cube around if you're following what I mean. It's like we are
Mhm.
reconstructing the conference, but from our subjective experience and kind of like the different layers of it. And I can give it a go on how I experience it. But I also think it's so complex. Mm, I feel like I'm pretty sure I could, if I bring you into my experience, that would be like 5 hours of talking if I go to, oh, this is how I got there, this is how I experienced it, this is how I got the workshops. So I think a focus point, focus point could be good to also like orient in the conference, because my impression is also very subjective. I do think I have some valid, interesting things that stood out to me while I was at the conference, but I was gonna also like check in with what other parts of the cubes do we have here? What are the impressions? But I am also the first time here, so I have no idea what's happening with the space and the frame. And before I layer myself out, oh, this is how I experienced it, I kind of was gonna
Yes,
check in the room
yes,
and how we're gonna build it together.
yes. Well, I want to first welcome you, Toby. And where are you from?
Germany.
Okay. Maybe before we have you start us off, and I, for one, would just like the core of what you felt was the main thing that you would take away. Maybe we need to center a little bit because we have a change of program here with our speaker being sick. So maybe we need a little attunement. And who would like to do that? Toby, just to orient you a little bit, we usually have something to begin, and then we have a focusing conversation about that. And we have breakout rooms, and then we come back and talk from the place of the breakout rooms. So, who would give us a tiny bit of centering?
A very small attunement. Yes. So maybe we just, Eric will listen to you. Yes.
Go ahead, Eric.
You try for a tiny one. Before we language, we are here, aren't we? And before we language, we are relational and we are connected here, now, breathing, held by gravity, grounded in our chairs. We don't know what's next or where in our bodies we will discover. And back to our process.
Okay, I need just a little stretch there. all of us have, or I shouldn't say all of us, many of us have feelings, thoughts, remembrances of other conferences. And it's a big deal to have this international focusing conference. And some of you wanted to go and couldn't go. Some of you did go. Some of you watched the streaming of it. Some of you heard about it. Some of you agonized about whether to go or not to go. And so we're going to begin with where we are about the conference and what this historic event actually means and what we would remember from it. And Toby, we'll start with you again. Just the core of what you take away, just a couple of minutes so that we can have a real discussion.
Like I mentioned before, I think it all comes down to, are we doing what we say we do? So we have like what, 300, 450, 350 people, something like that, gathering in Vienna. And there's this magic. Every single person there has like this focusing, like connects something with focusing. And the workshops, they were filled with like such life. And there was this amazing opportunity for all kinds of things. And there are two things that I'm like thinking back on it. Mm, when does the doses, it was too much. Like, frankly, my impression was we squeezed too many workshops into too little time. There was not enough room for digestion. That's the first impression. Yes, there was magic, and when does the doses of it is like when is it medicine, when is it poison? And for me, it was kind of a learning field of I'm saying no to this. I'm taking care of myself, listening to my body. But I feel like, I don't know, 70% of the people couldn't really do that capacity. There were also no supportive facilities to support, which is ironic because every single person can do a focusing like partnership with people. And it's just those old patterns and reactive things. I'm like, oh, guys, what are we doing? I think we're focusing people. We're like connected. If we can't properly take care of ourselves, who can? And it's this how we deal with irritations in the middle. There's the option of like, hey, we can do our like regular old stuff. Some of that was like, oh, I've witnessed today. I was like, oh, what? We have a different person talking, and there was this moment of oh, irritation, and how do we deal with it? And there's the like, oh, okay, we can trust the process. We can go with ourselves, and there's the reactiveness. And I'm just like, well, guys. I feel like I just wanted to stand there with a microphone and be like, guys, do what we say we do. Remember, we are here, we are human, and we can do this together. And I think I'll just take this opportunity to echo into this space. It's like, I know that we have the capacity also in this container today to build a warm, nourishing connection. And what I understand from the container itself is help for helpers, meaning we can nourish each other, ourselves in contact and spread that. So I'm curious what we will do with that today. My little pep talk, I suppose. Something that really stood with me. I was like, oh shit, so much stuff happened. Like it took me not even a day, and I went in like big drama. And oh, that person doesn't speak to this person. That person doesn't speak to that person. And oh my God, he got triggered by that. It's like, okay, we all do, and we have ways to cope with that. So why the hell are we not using it? Ah, ah. Thank you. That was good. I noticed like I'm nervous, obviously. I'm like sh slightly shaky in my hands because new group. But still, that's what was my impression, most important one. And emphasizing the magic, obviously. I'm just saying the magic if we use it. And I've said enough, I think. That was the essence. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
I'd like to
Be-
respond to that or say my own
Mhm.
sense. I was not at the conference, so it's maybe not the right spot to speak, but what you said, Toby, really resonates very much with my experiences of intensive conferences. And this was what I played with. Do I go? This is 100 years. That's really important. I have never been to Vienna. Wow, that would be really cool. Then I could go and zip to France a little bit, see family, and And when I go to those conferences, it's too much, and I always want to, and I do take care of myself better and better, but I always want less and less and less. But it's so hard because there's so much there. It's so, and like you said, there is this, kindred spirit connection we have that's so wonderful. And so I just wanted to jump in about this. Um, Thank you for sharing and taking the risk to speak in a group you have never been.
Yes, absolutely. I want to also just highlight these two issues that already we have here. One of them is the kind of too muchness. And I think that when we welcome everyone, and in this conference, we were welcoming everybody who really wanted to do a workshop. We're going to have too much. So that welcoming everybody is one side of a focusing attitude. And then we have to learn how to deal with the too muchness in all kinds of settings of welcoming everybody. So that's one issue. The other issue is this responding or reacting, that as humans, Jean Genlin says we haven't yet gotten to the phase of evolution where we know real relating. We just know fitting in and pouring out. We know reacting when we're annoyed, when we're threatened, when we're even when we're overflowing with passion, that sense of what do I do with these feelings so that I can be really relating. I don't want to stuff them, and I don't want to just pour them out. And we here have been working on this issue for a long time, and it's our core issue. How do we relate? Anybody else about the conference or anything that we've said so far?
I don't know if for me, I mean, I wasn't at the conference. I wish I would have gone, but I've gone to the last conference I went was to the American Group Psychotherapists, and uh, here in the U.S. And then what I learned over time is that how do I get to enjoy the process without reacting or being overly triggered? And so it's a constant checking on a daily basis at the institutes, interacting with others. Every single minute is about self-regulating, checking in with my body. Okay, how much do I want to say? Do I want to say something? What am I feeling? So it was about that, I think, for me. Of course, I enjoy being with others. It was very exciting and loved it. But it was about that kind of checking in all the time. How am I going to be in this space? Just that.
Thank you, Roberto. Anybody else? Anybody else that was at the conference? There are a lot of people. So maybe we could hear from a couple of the people who streamed the conference.
Pauline, maybe you'd like to say a bit about watching the conference?
I can, and yet I feel that by waiting, I think Roberta said that, by waiting, I kind of feel that I'd have more to say, but maybe not. I just loved being having access to the workshops and the streaming. I felt very connected, because it was on European time. It was good as well, just an hour ahead of us. And just there were so many familiar faces. I had done Treasure Maps of the Soul with Anne and Barbara years ago, and it was so familiar. And I think that the root of the word family isn't familiar, and yet it's like having no sense or need to belong in a way. So it's kind of like, yeah, that I might have had years ago. It was like really just the freedom to enjoy without having any obligation to even make sense. But it was that sense of the qualities and the values that I certainly, if I wanted a tribe, they were my tribe, that I could easily fit in there. And to have more of that, just have more conversations and more experiences of that, So there was a beautiful stories, and Jean's son spoke, and I really enjoyed that. The story would be, I wouldn't do it justice now, but it's there, So, and it's so universal, Japan, China, Europe, America, and I suppose all of the difference, you notice the kind of different styles, and with the backdrop of all that's going on in the world, it was lovely just to feel a sense of, well, at least there are people attuning to their own values, and it works somehow. It works. Resonance is what I'd call it, the resonance. Yeah. So that's it. Thanks, Katarina, and everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you, Pauline. That attunement that you're talking about, that resonance.
I didn't go to the conference. I didn't attend the streaming. I mean, I read about it and I said, oh, I wish I could go, but sometimes it seems to me like attending these conferences is like going on a pilgrimage, that you go and you don't necessarily, you have an idea in mind that you might get an idea, or you might be exposed to something new, or you might go into deeper into something. But it is kind of open. It's like whatever you are ready to receive, you'll get, So I have attended many conferences in psychology, and I always feel uncomfortable in all of them. And but yeah, it's like, I don't know if anybody that I've met says, "Oh, it was really fantastic, and I learned so much, and I have all these books I bought over there, and I met so many people, and I made friends." You know, maybe that's what happened at this conference also. But it is like a pilgrimage, I think, that you go and get whatever you're looking for. Yeah.
I love that. Yes. It's a pilgrimage. And we don't know what we're going to get, or it's that experience of setting out with an intention of kind of listening to the universe and seeing what message is there just for me. what do I need? And I'm going to find it. And I don't know where I'm going to find it or in what I'm going to find it. Maybe I'll just be annoyed at something, and then that annoyance will carry me somewhere. We don't know what in a pilgrimage, what what the result will be, but it's a kind of active faith. And um, the treasures that we bring home from a pilgrimage are very various. So in a way, every Help the Helpers, every meeting that we have is a pilgrimage. You tune in, you don't know what we're going to experience as a group this morning, and hopefully something will come to you in this meeting today that you hadn't thought of before. Or it might be just a feeling of how other people think differently than you do, or being with other focusing people and the experience of belonging in that conversation. So we'll see as we go along. Katarina, let's come back to remembering and forgetting and um, set the tone for us, and we'll have our discussion.
For those who like to use the chat, what I'm about to say is in the chat. Our speaker for today will most likely come during the first weeks of July, since he can't be here today. And I am the perpetual understudy, which means if we have a Help for Helpers planned and the speaker cannot be here, then I have studied enough to bring a framework for our practice. So remembering and forgetting, or forgetting and remembering, we have done that. There's a book which is a springboard for today, and it's easily separated into 3 parts. So I will put the titles from the table of contents for the first part, which are 6 little springboards, and you could, if you want to see the chat, or I will read them, how we remember. So you could consider making memories. Which of these 6 resonates for you, and what you might like us to explore together. How we pay attention in the moment. Muscle memory, or we spoke earlier of mirror neurons, the modern version of muscle memory. Your brain's Wikipedia or other places where we see the bird's eye view through a certain perspective, and you of course have your own perspective and what happened at the time. So let's give maybe 3 or 4 minutes quietly, and if something sparks for you, you could unmute and say.
So we're just taking a moment to take in what you said, Katerina. How do we make memories, and what do we remember? Is it in the province of choice? Can we choose to remember? Always fascinating to me when many of us are making experiences with our grandchildren. What will they remember of these experiences? What will we remember of our help the helpers, of these it's our anniversary of 6 years. What will we remember of all of those sessions? It's so mysterious what we remember and what we don't remember.
We have a few minutes now, then there will be the breakout rooms at around 9 o'clock. So I'll put the second set into the chat and read them now. Why we
Is there
forget.
space, Katarina? Katarina, is
Yes,
there space to reflect on what you said and what Len said?
Yeah, I think we could have some comments in between, right, Katerina? In
yeah.
between your reading. Yeah.
Okay. So, and to you, Katarina, uh, when Toby spoke, I was appreciating his giving us a sense of how his mind worked and how delicious his use of the English language, the deliciousness of your language, Toby. And my favorite part, which I felt in my body, was when you talked about how you were a little nervous and your hands shook. And that went straight to my heart. And last week, Priyanka talked about how hot and dry it is in South India. And I grew up partly in Texas, and I just resonated with hot and dry. You know, like sometimes in focusing, we might have two words together. And I just felt India somehow through Priyanka. And I don't try to make memories, but I'm just naming in the present moment what has happened in this group where I'm brought right into now and how delicious and how much I appreciate it.
Thank you, Eric. Yes. Does anybody else have anything they remember from last week? I mean, that's a wonderful way into this whole mysterious issue of remembering. Partly we can choose to remember something, but mostly it's that implicit working of our selves that we don't control. Does anybody else have anything from last week that they remember? We say sometimes we were struck by something, and that's interesting. It strikes you. It says, remember me. June, I think you're trying to say something.
Do you mean last week's meeting or last week in general?
Well, I was thinking last week's meeting because Eric started with that, um, but but just what is striking you when you think of remembering? If there's something from last week's meeting or last week.
I just had a visiting 2.5-year-old grandchild for
Uh,
13 days.
mhm.
So I just remember her enormous smile, her hands up in the air as if she's always ready to dance.
Thank you, June.
That's what I remember.
Yes. And we wonder what she'll remember when she grows up of that visit. Mary, I think you were going to say something. I think
So
she,
yeah, I wanted to attempt to blend the beginning of the meeting and some memory from last week. And I'm in a noisy place, so I apologize in our hotel. My small group from Forge met, and the two members that met with me last week had physically been at the conference. And it was very, the best word for me would be inspiring to hear them really placing their experiential bodies in the foot, the feet or the shoes or the footsteps of folks at the conference with many, many different ideas. And they're they're studying it in our focusing group at the end. Their sense was that the human body can not always be with everything. The example was like people who are physically in the midst of a war right now cannot necessarily be with aspects of history, and other things. So I'll carry that with me for the rest of my life, that while we, absolutely want to further the evolution of relating, that our own bodies sometimes can have limits. And I also find that really precious, and wanted to really honor the many things that have been fed, and especially what Toby said at the beginning. Thank you.
thank you, Mary. Yeah, something about self-regulation. Who mentioned the word self-regulation? It's such a nice word, a nice term from the psychotherapy field, but it's not only self-regulation in terms of too muchness, in terms of hecticness or busyness. It's also a kind of too muchness in what we can emotionally tolerate. And in a war, when we're in a war, we can't tolerate certain aspects of experience and need to shelter ourselves. And I think that's what you were saying, Mary. But that sense of sheltering yourself, but knowing that there's this in the world, and coming out when we're ready to meet what we can't meet in certain moments. Nancy, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I think when there's emotion attached to something that's going on, we tend to retain it far more. An example, last week for me, my grandson proposed in front of both sides' families out on a beach. And that will stay in my memory for many, many long days, as much because it was important for me to be there. And I raced from one graduation from the Cape all the way back home in order to be there with him. So those kinds of emotional contents stick with me the most. For little things, if I've got many things on my plate and I'm rushing around like a mad hatter, I always lose my phone. I don't remember where I put it because I'm doing so many things. But if I mark it in my brain where I parked my car, where I put my phone, and I consciously mark it, I'll be able to find it again. But so much is when there is too much going on that I tend to forget things. And that's probably what maybe some people are speaking of with the conference with so many things that they wanted to retain. So if I write things down, like when I'm at some of our meetings, I'll write things down, and sometimes I'll find my notes, just little notes on a piece of paper, a year later, and it brings it right back to me. But memory's a funny thing, and there are some things that I don't want to forget, but I do because there's so much. But that's all.
One of the things that I'm struck by in what you're saying, Nancy, is that emotional things that bring strong feelings, are things that we remember. And sometimes when things aren't emotional, or the felt sense, which is much more subtle than an emotional reaction, we have to sort of grasp it. And writing it down is one way of grasping it. Not only write down where you put your phone, but write down a feeling that had a lot to it, but wasn't a clear emotion. And then that felt sense of what's more subtle than the emotion, we can sort of find handles for that helps us to remember and unfold it. Because I think that memories are trying to go somewhere. They're trying to do something for us. They're trying to lead us in some way. And so we want to follow them.
Yeah, this is Diana, and if I can speak, yeah. So, yeah, Nancy and Lynn, you both talked about emotional things attached to emotion that we remember. I have to give a talk tomorrow, a brief speech at a friend's 80th birthday, and we've been friends since we were 12. And so I was trying to remember just events of our lives, things that we've done together over the years, and what showed up on the list over and over again were events like Nancy's son's proposal, weddings. Weddings really were the big thing, all the different weddings we've attended, hers, mine, my brother's, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I realized how important, how that really, how important it is to show up with friends and family for those important events, because they do fill out our memory of our years together, even more than specific things, other little specific things. At least they help a lot. Anyway, that just occurred to me. And yeah, writing down definitely helps memory a lot. Okay. And yes, I had a biopsy on my face, if you're wondering about that. And yes, I just woke up. Bye.
Thank you, Diana. Yes, I recognize in what you said how important rituals and events are, because a lot of work goes into weddings and all kinds of events. And all that work and all that money and all that planning and all that effort that many people make for an event is to make memories that then are sort of guiding posts or signs in our lives.
I'm curious about who is this memory maker that lives in us, if I'm just to make it a person just for the sake for fun. Because he is very annoying, he or she is very annoying. Because the other day I saw a scorpion, because it's raining here. I saw like a scorpion on the grass, and I couldn't get it out of my head. The whole night I was so scared that might be a scorpion somewhere. And when I have to study for an exam, it just refuses to remember things that I need to pass the exam. So it's like, I'm just curious about why it chooses to remember the scorpion when I want to forget it, but doesn't remember the exam notes when I want to remember that. Like, who is this this memory maker? Who is driving it? Like, just curious about.
Yeah, can anybody speak to that? That's the big question, right? Things we want to forget, we remember. Things we want to remember, we forget. Who is this one that decides what gets to stay and what goes? And who gets to decide how to bring something back that you want to remember? Does anybody have anything to say about that?
Well, maybe I can say something to this. I'm Viola. Hello.
Hi, Viola.
Hi. Listening to you, I again thought of the conference. I wasn't not there. I just streamed the panel on the German in the development of focusing in Germany. And more, I'm thinking like, yes, we are making memories, and with making memories, of course, we make what we call history. So it's it's very political in a way. So which memories are it starts with who is on the stage of a panel and shares memories of how did it work in Germany that focusing developed, and whom do you mention, whom don't mention? Do you really forget him or her, or do you better not want to mention? It's not so it's more now the political dimension I'm very much feeling in the moment, also being a person from Germany, where a lot of people we have a long history with remembering and better forgetting. So the political dimension, I think, is very comes more and more to my mind, especially with the conference. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, such an important issue of our collective memories and how they become the memories that make history.
That's it.
And what you're saying was a kind of core piece of the conference. You know, here we have James Genlin's 100th birthday, and he escaped the Nazis at the age of 12 from Vienna, and remembering that history, of terrible World War II and Hitler, and then how that is for people to remember it now when so much is going on in the world. And I know that some people at the conference said, well, we can't just focus on the Nazis and what happened then. What's happening now is important. And of course, that brought a lot of conflict within everybody and conflict between everybody. What will be remembered? What will be, I loved Obama's phrase, the right side of history. What will be on the right side of history? How will these things go down? What will we remember as a collective or even as a species? Can you say a little bit more about that, Viola, for yourself? What it's like, the historical political part of memory? I don't want to put you on the spot, but what you
Yeah.
said was really important.
Yeah, it's the only part of the conference I streamed. So oh no, it's a kind of it's not yet there to be spoken out, I think. The only thing that comes again and again is that there are two things. The one thing is I also wonder what I forget and what I remember. And as you said, sometimes it's just the way around we want it. But on the political dimension, it's something else. So it's also writing the history of focusing in Germany when and we are listening to that. And sometimes I wasn't there, so I'm younger than those persons. I was too late for focusing. So, but sometimes I thought like, yes, maybe. Hmm, sorry, the words I'm missing. I'm not yet sure. Maybe I get a little pause to
Yeah,
get it more
it's
clear.
right. It's
Lynn,
right there
Lynn, could I
for
jump in
you.
here?
Yes,
Hello,
thank you.
Viola. Maybe this would be a good place to tell the story that Jerry told about Jean. He went back to Vienna for the first time, and Jerry was only maybe 13 or 14. And for some reason, they had to go out by Germany. And this 14-year-old son, it was just so moving. He said that his father, Gene, was so anxious going to the airport, and got so frustrated and so nervous. And he just leaned over to him and said, I don't know whether he said dad, but he says, you have escaped the Nazis once. And he says, he said this was before focusing. He said that his whole body just relaxed and he just smiled, broke into that smile. And it was so moving in the sense that it's not about Nazis, it's around the resonance of hate or oppression, And Toby, I think it was Toby, is it? At the beginning. Yeah, hi, Toby. It is like that we can say we are free. We're free from, a lot of us are free from. And it's like we have these skills now. And, we can remind each other that we don't need to be afraid. The fear is the great oppressor. So it's it's not about the Germans or any oppressors now anymore. It's like they have done their time and done their penances. Now we're freer than we were. So that's what I brought away mostly from the story. So it seemed appropriate there.
Mm.
Thank you.
It
You're
seems
welcome,
like,
Jim.
but it seems like this is a very, very important spot here. What Viola said, what you said, Pauline, sort of reminded me that we want to feel like it's over and we're free, but our bodies don't feel that. And there's a lot that's going on in the world now that's um,
I think
will
that was the point,
affect
Lynn,
generations.
that
Yes,
Jerry saw his dad really being a memory of, oppression, and him
yes,
leaning over and say, you have escaped. You have
yes,
escaped your oppression.
yes,
And his whole
yes,
body. So it's
yes.
conscious awareness in the moment that we are, well, when I say free, it's like, well, take the freedoms we have.
Right. I mean, maybe even in the midst of a war, we can, through focusing in the moment, feel free. I'm just wondering, Viola, if you got to that spot because there was something right there, and uh, in Jane teaching listening says we when the person gets to the spot where there aren't any words, but it's all there, just wait for a minute because it will come. So we just want to check in with you, and then it may be time for our breakout rooms.
Yeah, thank
Did
you.
anything come?
Not yet really. A little bit comes from the fragility of making history. We all think of history, we have our facts and this and that, but it's also chosen facts and facts that are taken and facts that are rejected. It's
Mhm.
not so. I have a personal connection with it, which is not yet to be really outside, but just the feeling of how history, when they talk about the history of focusing in Germany, and so how facts are chosen and other facts are not chosen, and how this process is just done. I could watch it, and it was interesting to watch the selection of facts and the people speaking about it. It was like looking at how a history is kind of written,
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
and something like that. It's not all. You have, I think, a good feeling for that. There is more to it, but for the moment, I think it's that was the core of it.
Yes.
Thank you, Lynn.
How do we weave history? How is it done?
Yes.
Especially since it's collective, and what I choose to remember may become part of history because I'm choosing to remember it and to say it and to have all my conviction behind it. And then what facts are left out? How is this weaving happening? So, Katarina, maybe you want to read us the next set, and then we'll go into our breakout rooms. And in our breakout rooms, we'll continue the conversation in whatever direction your little group takes it, and we'll see what you remember from this discussion and what wants to be continued.
So we have a few titles that one is put it in context. So that's a whole chapter 14 in the book that we're referring to. Another one is chapter 8, tip of the tongue. So maybe that is enough as a springboard for the breakout rooms.
I think so. I think so. So this book is Remembering and Forgetting, and who is it by again? Katarina, I'm going to buy this book.
Lisa Genova, 2021.
Lisa Jennifer. Okay.
Genova, Remember the Science of Memory and the Art of Forgetting.
Great. Okay. So we have our breakout rooms. We'll come back at 9:35. And we'll see what we remember and what we forget in this 20 minutes. Welcome back, everybody. So I see that Yao is here and some people that I didn't see before. So what happened in your breakout rooms? You're laughing, Diana. What was it like?
Oh, I'm not even sure I'm on here. Okay. I was just laughing because what happened means we have to draw on memory, even though it was recent memory. We probably all have possibly different memories of what happened.
Yes, it was an instance of the discussion, right? So how was it in your room? Everybody having different memories.
It was a nice conversation. And I'm not sure how to report on it, but nothing that wants to be said at the moment.
It was mostly what you wanted to say is a kind of ironic aspect that we had to call upon our memories, and then what made the history, of our session today. What will be a collective memory of it, and that comes in the breakout rooms. Anybody else? What did you touch on?
Well, we touch on our name spontaneously and how it carries history of many generations and how we can change that. Report ourselves into a pot with different soil. Change the history in some ways, or in the way we want to carry it. Maybe we don't change the history, but we change the way we relate to it. And that can start with our name and changing our name.
That's quite profound, and that's been a historic kind of ritual in a way of changing your relationship to your history, to your situation by changing your name. Was were you in that breakout room?
Yes, I was.
I can imagine.
It was Sophie, Mary, and I. Yeah. And just the fact, just how names are connected to so much remembering and then remembering. And so it was really, really a fruitful discussion with each of us sharing how our name came to be, what are the different alliterations of our name and how it comes through. So it was just really great.
Yeah. Membering and remembering. And we name it's we are named, but then it's also how we name things that have happened. The names that we give to things make all the difference in terms of how they're remembered.
Toby has his hand up.
Hey, Toby, you can just speak if you want to.
I will. What I think was interesting from our group, we were a group with 3 men, and bringing up memories of how it was in the past to be with men, or like how it wants to like be. And that was an interesting piece of that. And I think I will put that on the positive experiences with men, a little, I don't know the scale, I suppose. Yeah, that's one part that I remember, and making new memories in that context, I guess. Hmm. And I have a quick little question. This is being recorded right now, if I see it correctly. I
Yes.
saw on YouTube somewhere that they are going to be uploaded. Is this one going to be uploaded? Because it's going to be so on the same YouTube channel?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Ah, sounds cool. Okay. Thank you.
And
Yes,
just it might be a good reminder, Lynn, to tell people that if they're really uncomfortable, it can be edited out, of something that's, that no one needs to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
if you don't want something to be remembered that you said, one step is to edit it out. But yes, that's the way that we have our discussions remembered, is putting them on YouTube.
Lynn,
Oh, go ahead.
Lynn and Yao initially was talking about membering and remembering, and then Lynn reflected that. And membering just landed in me like, we come here and member. We member together. And it's so fundamentally human. And in our little group, it was just 2 of us. And at some point, when my partner was tuning into how she was responding to us, I just felt like my body came alive. My body came alive in a different way that was more.
Mm-hmm.
And I treasure that, and I want more of that. And I don't find it much in my Buddhist Sangha. I find it here. I don't want to judge them. But there's something very bittersweet about how we have certain families where it isn't easy to member together.
I love that.
Yeah.
We're membering together every Monday morning. I have to member myself every morning that I wake up. I don't know about the rest of you, but I wake up sometimes with lots of stuff going on and things I have to handle or do or whatever. And then I have to take time to just remember myself. And that feels so good. I can do that all by myself, or I can do it with you folk on Monday mornings.
We have a poem too. Are you ready for it?
Yes, we are.
So it's called The Three Faces. 1, 2, 3 faces. Let each one shine through your day. Leaf, wind, tree, and seed. The adult face, happy eyes, warm smile, as colors swirl, autumn leaves, compassion and grace. The young girl or boy's face, step, walk, dance, create, places to go, things to do, wind embraces tree. The child's face, curiosity, find your home and shape your space. Tree grows from a seed. 1, 2, 3 faces. Let each face shine through your day. Leaf, wind, tree, and seed. So we'll meet again next Monday.
And who wrote that, Katarina?
Katarina Hom.
Ah, okay. Thank you. It's a beautiful poem.
Wow, great. Right.
Yeah. Wind, tree, seed, and what was the other one?
1,
Seed.
2, 3 faces. Wind, tree, leaf, seed.
Leaf and seed, yes.
W.B.
Okay,
Yeats wrote something a bit similar.
great. Okay, we'll see you next week. Have a wonderful week, everybody. A week of summer. And then anybody wanting to be part of the summer seminars that I'm doing, please remember to register this week. Bye-bye now.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.